Welcome to the Salem Chamber podcast. I'm Tom Hoffert, CEO of the Salem Chamber, and we're pleased to have you listening. Let's jump right in. Today, we are joined by Rhonda Rhodes, principal at CTEC, one of the most lauded programs in Salem-Keizer School District's history. Rhonda, welcome to the Salem Chamber podcast.
Thank you. Well, I love to talk about CTEC, so I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, we are so proud of the effort of you as the principal, James, in support of you as the vice principal, but really a credit to the Salem-Keizer School District and a remarkable private-public partnership that really would not have happened without the generosity of Mountain West Investment Corporation, the Tokarski family, Larry and Jason, as well as deploying the important resource of Katia Mendez as a great part to help build what is today recognized as the premier career and technical education center in the entire United States. You may not brag about that, but I will, Rhonda.
Absolutely. Well, I just returned from a national CTE conference in Phoenix, where I had the chance to share our work with a national audience. And as you said, I like to always kick off our presentation with what I call the CTEC origin story. Every superhero has an origin story, and CTEC's no different. And I always talk about how CTEC really started in the private sector, in the heart and mind of a CEO who had a vision that school could be different. And I don't think the powerful impact that we can create today could have been born out of public education. If it could have, it would have happened already. I think the public-private partnership, our origin story, is the secret, is that secret ingredient that's been missing from public education. And I think what we've done at CTEC, though, in the 7 years that I've been there and the 2 years before, I think it's actually evolved into something that even Mountain West and Larry Tokarski would never have envisioned. So we're just so excited and so proud of the work that we get to do every day.
You had mentioned your origin story, and every superhero has an origin story. I want to get to know and allow our listeners to learn a little bit more about a superhero that we view, and that is Rhonda Rhodes as principal. Rhonda, talk to us about your early years. Where did you grow up, and maybe a little bit about your life before being an accomplished professional that you are today?
All right. Well, I actually was born and raised in the Dundee-Newburgh area. I went to Dundee Elementary School before Dundee was an amazing, trendy wine destination. When I remember when we got our first stoplight in that town. So grew up in a small town and had just went through the public schools there in Newburgh, went to Oregon State and then Willamette University to become an educator. And I initially wanted to teach writing because I felt like every child has a story inside them, and I wanted to be the person that would help them unlock that. And I got a minor in math and a minor in Spanish just to make myself well-rounded and marketable. And at the time, people were hiring math teachers. They were pretty full on English teachers. And I thought, well, I'll just get my foot in the door teaching math, and then I'll teach what I was really destined to teach, which is teach people how to write and tell their stories. I love teaching math so much that I just ended up teaching math here in Salem-Keizer for 5 years. I moved to Boston, and I taught for 3 years in the Boston public schools. And that was such a challenge. I had no idea how unprepared I was for that. And I'm so blessed that I had to do something really difficult and really hard because it built me better. And I moved back here a way better teacher than I was when I left. I worked at North Salem High School. I started mentoring teachers. And then I just really felt called to lead. I wanted to have a greater impact. So I went into education administration, first at McNary High School as an assistant principal. And having the chance to innovate, to do things differently, especially when you see things that aren't working as effectively as they could, that's what the opportunity at CTEC looked like from where I sat. I thought, this is a place where you could do something differently. This is a place where you're not just dragging people across the graduation stage and then leaving them with no prospects. This is a place where you can literally transform their lives, their trajectories, their future families for generations. And I'm so blessed. I still sometimes feel so lucky that they selected me for this role, and I can't imagine being anywhere else.
Take me back you already had been in education for some time. What was the calling to go, curiosity, what drew you to Boston?
I followed a guy. Yeah. So my significant other at the time was moving there for training for a medical residency.
Okay.
And that's what drew me to Boston. And like I said, even though it was so difficult, I'm just so thankful for what I gained and learned there. And I think Boston also, I brought them good luck. The Red Sox won the World Series for the first time in 86 years, the year I moved there and the year I moved away. So that's 2 championships right there.
Well, you brought some magic to Boston. We're glad you brought the magic back to Salem. As an educator, starting in education, you had mentioned seeing some potential gaps and kind of driving you to a passion area where you could start filling in a bit of that perspective that may have been missing in the education sector. Was it initially met with any, whoa, Rhonda, no, we have a thing, or was that kind of ideology in your lens appreciated and valued and verified?
You know, I think it really depends. I'm blessed to have great leaders here in Salem-Keizer that give me a chance to innovate and do things differently. But when you want to do things that don't have a paved path, you make a lot of people nervous. And so, and if you have big ideas, that makes a lot of people nervous as well. So I think there have definitely been many, many times throughout my career where I'm thinking about big ideas, talking about big ideas, and wanting to do things that are just not how things are done at this time. And I do feel like my position at CTEC gives me more latitude and flexibility than I've ever had in public education. Because we're so closely connected with private industry and because we are so blessed with the support of our local industry partners, obviously through our partnership with the Chamber and our business liaisons, we have so much community support that it gives me the chance to get buy-in on trying big ideas, trying things that are different. And feeling like I have the support that we need to pull them off.
Well, the private sector is professionally made of taking risk takers. They're entrepreneurs. They're people who put their financial security on the line. And so to see that in a version of that occurring in our public education system really resonates with business owners. In fact, it's probably the area we least struggle to get volunteers for. As an organization, we request a lot of volunteer time, or offer, I should say, a lot of volunteer time, and then routing people into different experiences that can not just benefit them as the volunteer, but the people then they're speaking to. When we talk about CTEC, I mean, that people just, the hands shoot up. I want to be a part of that. Explain to our listeners what is very unique about your teaching staff and their origin, because a lot of times people think, oh, these people went to undergrad and grad to be teachers their whole life. CTEC, that's not the case.
Right. I have an amazing team. When I look around at the staff in my building, I can't imagine. I feel so fortunate. Sometimes I will say to my husband, do I even deserve to be this lucky when I land a new hire or think about the people on our team? What's so great is that CTEC is a mix of private industry and public education, right? We're bridging that gap. And our staff is a mix of classically trained teachers like I was and industry professionals who are absolute experts at what they do, who have stepped out of industry to come in and teach their trade, their skill, their passion to the next generation of professionals in that industry. So I might have industry teachers whose path went through the university. Some of them never did. Some of them may have started working immediately in a, manufacturing role, and they've got 30 years of experience at that, and nobody could be as good at it as they are. They have so much to impart to our students, and our students see that, and they're in awe of how skilled these people are at the thing that they have a passion for. And it just resonates with them in a different way. So not only is CTEC this combination of public sector, private sector, but then our staff is classically trained educators on the core teacher side, and then industry trained professionals on the CTE teacher side. And it's magical when a team gets together and clicks. It's magical. The reason that we have this mix of staff is because we have such a unique approach to education that is going to, it makes so much sense when you explain it to people, and yet no one's doing it anywhere. So the ability to integrate core subjects like English and math or English and science with the CTE, the career planning curriculum with the trade, is something that no one's doing anywhere. But think about our aviation students and the fact that all the science they're learning is preparing them for their piloting test or their aircraft maintenance career. That resonates with them so much more than just, reading a physics book to read it, right? All of their English is about the communication they will use in writing a flight plan and communicating with the control tower, that sort of thing. I can't imagine if I had ended up in the English teacher career that I had planned for myself, dragging 17-year-old boys through the Scarlet Letter or something like that, right? But when you get to teach English and science through the lens of what they love enough to leave their other school for half their schedule to come and immerse themselves in, when they know that that is their future career, the level of motivation is a game changer. I know you've seen people visit our campus and they look at our kids and they can't believe how passionate they are, how focused they are, how professional they are. And it's because everything's relevant to them. They want to learn and they love it.
And I want to start for our listeners with, granted, a lot of people are familiar with CTEC in this city, and we're really fortunate that it's a real bright light for the district. And I know your association is something you're very proud of. We are certainly very proud to partner with CTEC and the district in this effort. But let's talk about the physical space. So imagine you're listening and you've never walked into CTEC. Talk about the origin story with Tom and his family, the gift that started there, and then talk to us about the physical facility, because this is not you think of a school district, and as a listener, you've probably walked into many schools over times in your life. This is an industry melting pot. Explain to the listeners a little bit about the physical facility and how it came about and what it sits as today.
Well, anyone who's listening who hasn't been to CTEC needs to come and see us. We give hundreds of tours a year. Our business liaisons, and when I say ours that we share, right, our chamber business liaisons, they're phenomenal. I can't imagine our operations without them. The connections that we have because of them and their role are incredible, and they would love to invite any of our listeners into the building and show it to them. But for people who haven't seen it, we're on Portland Road, former Nielsen manufacturing plant, and the Nielsen family's been amazing. We have their history on our wall in the CTEC Commons, and they've had the chance to come back and bring their family and their former employees. But this was, an operational manufacturing plant, 150,000 square feet. And I think they're really proud of the way that building is utilized today. When Mountain West purchased the building, they paid to remodel, because we're talking just a giant open manufacturing plant, and they paid to remodel 2 program spaces per year over a 5-year period, and then outfit it with the latest and greatest industry equipment for CTEC's 10 original programs, a $17 million project, and then leased it all to the Salem-Keizer Public Schools for $1 a year. I mean, when I stand on a national stage and tell people that, they can't believe it. They can't believe it. And so really that vision that school could be different, that we could have a bigger impact, that we could bolster our local economy by creating a powerful employee pipeline for our own business and industry right here in Salem and Keizer, and at the same time transform the lives of our youth, who are oftentimes, we have a high poverty area. We have a lot of students who would not be able to afford these opportunities if they came at a monetary cost to them. And what Mountain West did in giving us this gift as Salem-Keizer is created the chance for students to access this as part of their free and public education. If you think about our community before CTEC was created and what it's going to look like 10 years from now, transformational, unbelievable, because the lives of young people, if you think about the path that they're on and take away the opportunity. I think of our alum and how much money they're making, how successful they are, how passionate, how happy. If they hadn't had this opportunity, we have no idea how things would have turned out for them. And when they tell you their individual stories, it'll get you. I'm not a crier, but I just tear up hearing their stories. So I hear from our industry partners that our business liaisons work so closely with all the time and how they feel like it's transformed their company. They now finally know they have a place to go where they can get skilled, technically skilled and professionally skilled employees. So it's huge. But the facility itself, what's so cool about it is certainly the gift that Mountain West gave us in remodeling and outfitting it, right? To have a full body shop, with multiple bays for collision repair and an automotive painting booth, right? We could paint your car at CTEC. To have what looks like a full body shop right there, the first program you see when you walk into our building, is incredible. And then not only the fact that they built it for us, but then what we do with it, because we operate that as a student-run business, right? So you could come in and have your car repaired or have your car detailed. And while that's being done, you could go across the building to a state-of-the-art full-service student-run salon, and you could get your hair cut, you could get your beard trimmed. While you're waiting for your car to be done, you could eat in the CTEC Cafe. So these spaces are professional. Every single one of them is absolutely completely different, as they need to be, because their industries are different. And they're all powerful student-run businesses. In other districts, people are trying to give their students work-based learning. And you have to get from point A to point B. A lot of our kids can't drive themselves. And even if they can find a way to get there, that's a couple hours here, a couple hours there. Our students are running these businesses a couple of hours every time we see them. Think about the experience and the resume building for them. So in terms of our physical building and how wonderfully outfitted it was by Mountain West, and then the way that we use it and operate these student-run businesses, it's something to see. I mean, I definitely invite all of your listeners to come and take a tour.
I have people on occasion, and not often, but ask, hey, why is the chamber involved with, CTEC and the district? Well, my answer is really resolute. We care about the future workforce. And as an organization, we know that our students, there's going to be a portion that go and exit our community, but there is a large portion that stay generally in the communities they've graduated from. And if not today, often can return to a community. And so for us, our alignment with CTEC is very natural in caring for our future workforce demands and needs. And not all students, Rhonda, are going to go directly to college or on a certain pipeline for an internship and the like. And so CTEC really provides an incredible and you do a better job, but an advantaged learning where you're now going to enter the workplace or enter the next stage of your education ahead of the people that you're going to be asked to compete in the real world with. And that's very much to the heart of what a chamber supports. Let's talk about the experience for the student. Mm-hmm. So you had mentioned there's A days and B days. And why don't you tell our listeners a little bit more about how the student experience works?
Absolutely. Well, students are on our campus for half of their schedule, 4 of their 8 classes. So in Salem-Keizer, that means each student's with us for half of their day on Monday, either the morning or the afternoon, and then either all day Tuesday, Thursday, or all day Wednesday, Friday. And I love when our students tell guests to our building or guests in our community about their experience, because when they're on CTEC's campus, what we hear them say over and over again is that they feel like they are professionals in the workplace. They feel like they're treated like you would treat your colleagues. That's how I treat them. That's how our staff treat them. We don't infantilize them. We don't chastise them. We don't treat them like, boys and girls who need to walk in a line to the bathroom at school. We treat them like they work there, and they step up their game and perform like they work there. They would tell you that their program's a family because they spend their whole time, half of their schedule, with their teachers that they adore and respect, and that same group of students. So when they first come to us, they're coming from our 7 different high schools. They don't know each other. They're nervous. And by the time they graduate, they will tell you, these are my friends for life. In fact, we had to start having CTEC reunions because what happens is we share these students with their other school. All of our kids access CTEC as a program, but technically they graduate from, and their diploma holds the name of their other school. And yet they want to come back and see us, especially their teachers, but also those students that they spent half of their school life with for 2 years. So we have an alumni event now because they've told us that each year they want to have the chance to come back and connect and get together. So their experience is really, I think, absolutely incredible. They learn and practice and get feedback and are graded on professionalism skills. It's part of their grade in all 4 of their CTEC classes. They come to us for the technical skills. They come because they want to learn, culinary arts and management, how to cook and prepare and serve food or whatever program they've come for. They come for the technical skills. The professional skills are what we empower them with. That's going to make them successful for the rest of their lives, whether they change careers or not. Because a lot of people in adulthood make career changes. Those professional skills, they will always have those.
They always translate to whatever opportunity you're in.
And no matter what they're doing, those are going to make them leaders. Those are going to make them get that promotion, those things. So they come for the technical skills. We empower them with those professional skills for lifelong success. And then honestly, the integrated core classes are a huge gift that we give them because now they're getting English and science or English and social studies taught through the lens of something that's going to prepare them for their future and going to be enjoyable for them.
I always call CTEC a story of innovation. And one of the things that has been most exciting in our business community and for our residents is the unveiling of commercial air service returning to Salem's McNary Field. Our organization has been very involved in making sure that was a successful return. We have a lot of people that are driving an hour and 10 minutes up to PDX, spending an insane amount of money for parking, driving all the way home. And now we have options of flights directly out of Salem, which is something that I think is very healthy for a community our size in a capital city. Along those sides of innovation, and it shows your agility and reaction to workplace demands. Talk to us about one of your newest programs that we're going to be really celebrating in earnest at the tail end of January. But I don't want to take the thunder away. Share what one of the newest programs is.
Well, thanks so much for all of the effort put into landing commercial flight in Salem. I am so excited about that. We had an existing drone technology and robotics program that we opened about 7 years ago. And for a few various reasons, we've had trouble with recruitment and getting those spots full. And I always say an empty seat never changes anyone's lives, right? We want our programs to be full. We want as many students as possible to have this competitive advantage when they graduate, to have the CTEC experience. And when we looked at the program and thought, do we need to evolve? What would that look like? If you look at the workforce shortages and the high wage, high demand jobs, because when we prepare our students, we want to prepare them for living wages that they can take care of their family in a meaningful way. That's what the aviation sector had, right? The best CTE programs come at an intersection. If you think of a Venn diagram, They come at an intersection of industry need, because if you have industry need, then you have buy-in from your local business partners in the community, right? They're excited to support a program that's going to give them a much needed industry pipeline. So industry need, student interest. It has to be a thing a kid will take because empty seats don't change lives. And then the third is it needs to be something where a 2-year CTEC program could actually make a difference, create a benefit, give them that 2-year competitive advantage. And aviation absolutely checked all the boxes. The industry needs well published. I don't have to describe that to anyone. We surveyed students before we made the purchase of that 16,000 square foot hangar at the airport. I had to definitely make the case that if you build it, they will come. And I just Rhonda Rhodes saying, but I know they will wasn't enough. So we went out and we did sample surveys in all of our high schools. And sure enough, we were able to fill this first cohort of aviation students for this year. So the student interest was there. And our students will get a broad foundation their first year in the program and then have the opportunity to choose whether they want to earn certification and leave as with an FAA Part 107 commercial drone pilot's license, with an FAA Part 61, the written part of the private pilot's license already knocked out, ground school completed, and as many flight hours as we can get them, or aircraft maintenance certifications. So aviation really checked all the boxes in a huge way. There were unused grant rollover money from COVID that needed to be utilized on CTE. Also generous industry support. So through just grant funding and industry support and donations, we were able to purchase and outfit this building. It wasn't ready on the first day of school. And while I was initially bummed, I think it was a blessing because we were able to hire this staff, get them in place, bring in these students and make them feel like they were part of CTEC as a whole. And then now we will move them out to the hangar. The move is happening during the winter break. Next week, they're setting up our giant full motion flight simulator and some of our other really cool equipment. But January 2nd, students in CTEC Aviation will start taking their courses at the Salem Airport.
That's really exciting, and we look forward to celebrating with a big ribbon cutting and rallying the whole community there. I also got to celebrate with you on a very special day a couple weeks ago. I think about 3 weeks ago now. One of the things that's important for listeners to understand: this equipment is not secondhand or not the best in class at all of the. So that is a commitment of the Tokarski family, and you can't ask people to train highly skilled and learn highly skilled things on inferior equipment or with inferior tools. And so CTEC is a model of very high end, the actual practical tools that student will use. Could you tell me about the 2 major acquisitions of the airplanes themselves that will give students firsthand real things that are in the air actually being used in the market, and how that will have a positive impact on their learning trajectory?
Yeah, it's fascinating because a lot of programs, I haven't seen programs like the one we're building in terms of being able to offer airplane piloting and drones, like certification in those, and aircraft maintenance. And the fact that we have this hangar space where we can have our flight simulators, we can have our netted area inside the hangar and fly and practice with drones, has been amazing. We purchased the equipment for aircraft maintenance, but my concern was you need something to work on. And while we have the facility to work in, we really didn't have anything to work on, including the funding to purchase something to work on. Columbia Aviation, Bill Gropp and some of his colleagues in Aurora acquired a fuselage for us and brought that down and delivered it. It's actually inside of our building right now at CTEC. So if you walk around, our building is so unusual, like you said, for public education, for a high school. But we have a fuselage sitting there that our aviation students have had the chance to work on before we even move. And then we received the donation of an airplane. We had a gentleman who had been having work done at Flight Wing to repair this aircraft and had just run into some different issues and challenges with it, and heard about our program and what we were working on. And he said that he would be willing to donate his aircraft if we could pay Flight Wing for the repairs. And I thought, gosh, I'm a high school principal. I don't know how much those repairs would be. I have no idea. And I really am not sure if there's any Salem-Keizer account that I could use to pay for repairs on an aircraft that we don't own. I was like, gosh, we have to make this happen. This is such an incredible opportunity. And I don't know how I'm going to pull this off. And called Flight Wing and chatted with them. And they said to me, you know, if that's what that airplane's going to be used for, if it's going to be used to train the next generation of aircraft maintenance professionals, then you don't owe us a thing.
Wow.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
And that's what's so amazing about this community, about the support that we have. You know, that's just one example of a business that sees the work and cares enough about the next generation of professionals. And I feel like in my 7 years at CTEC, I could just tell you story after story about industry partners who are willing to do things that you just would never even ask them to do. You know, I called to see how much it would be, to see if I thought I could find a way to swing it. And that was the answer that I got from them. And that's incredible. So I think one of the things that I love so much about Salem and Keizer is, as an educator, I went into education because I love kids, right? I knew I cared about the youth in our community. That was the decision that I made for myself for my career. I had no idea. I didn't know how much our local business and industry cared about the youth in our community. It was so humbling to me. I didn't know until I came to CTEC, because public education, we don't intersect with business and industry. But at CTEC, we have industry in our building weekly, if not daily, because of our business liaisons and all of our connections and partnerships. And they move mountains. Our business and industry professionals do things I would never be able to pull off as the principal at CTEC, right? As a public educator. They move mountains for us, and what it allows us to do for our students, for their futures, for our programs is incredible, but it's humbling to think about the things that people have done for us.
Business community is very agile and can move quickly, and maybe a little bit quicker than the speed of government or school districts. There's also a level of generosity when we believe in bigger things. And you had spoken at the start about being bold and talking about big ideas, and it can make people nervous, but it can also make people gravitate to things. And when I look at leaders like Alan Rasmussen, who has been very prolific at CTEC in offering work experiences to younger people maybe than qualified, and getting special things set up with government agencies to make sure there are protections. So these kids can really go through and experience firsthand. It's powerful. But I would also connect this thought. People in business invest in things that are having positive results, Rhonda. And so you and your staff team are creating truly positive results for students, and you're having an impact on our local workforce now and into the future. Talking about you as a leader, how do you work with a diverse staff team, Rhonda? Because you have traditionally trained educators in place, but then you also have your previous private sector and in-industry individuals. From a leadership perspective, how do you talk to different audiences and get everybody rallied around the same core competencies and same mindset?
You know, in terms of, I think leadership in general, if there's a really clear and really incredible vision, like having the chance to hire these two new teams for aviation and for behavioral health, which is our other incredible, innovative new program, when you bring them together and show them what could be possible, And then they get the chance to add in the could be possibles that you didn't even think of and make that dream bigger and better. It's part of them, and it becomes our dream together. And my teams, they're so incredible. I feel so fortunate. They want to do things no one's ever done in public education. And for me, it's really fascinating. If you think about my chair where I sit, I'm responsible for supervising these programs, these 10 completely different industries. I'm not an expert. I haven't worked in any of them. I was a math teacher, right? So I have to hire people that are incredible, and I have to trust them and their industry knowledge, right? And their competence and their expertise. And I have to go to them and ask them questions. And then I view it as my job to keep the mission and vision in the forefront of everyone's mind and keep them inspired and moving toward what's possible. What I found is the quickest way for people to lose motivation and inspiration is when they decide there's no way to win. If people start running into obstacles and barriers and roadblocks, and I mean, if you think about yourself, if you decide there's no path to win, it demotivates you, right? People either aren't going to keep playing the game or they're not going to keep working hard. They're going to be mailing it in. So I view my job to create the conditions for success. It's my job to make it possible for them to win the game. So if there's something standing between them and the vision that we've created together, my job is to clear that path and create the conditions and make it possible for them. Sometimes it means that I need to work with educators to rethink some of our policies that are barriers to operating student businesses and things like that. Sometimes it means I need to find money to buy them something that they really need to operate effectively. Sometimes it means I need to help them repair their relationships with each other and remind them that we are all here for that same mission or vision. But my job's not to know everything. My job's not to, certainly micromanage or direct every minute of their time. My job is to create the conditions so they can win and achieve what we're hoping to do for that competitive advantage we're trying to get for each one of our students. So that's really how I view it.
You are taking on the role essentially of a CEO. By the way, you've just described the role of a CEO, Rhonda. So I love that we're talking business. You have a counterpart who's very special and important in that, and that's James, your assistant principal. For those of us not familiar with education, tell us what the role of an assistant principal is.
Gosh, I'm so lucky to have James Weber as my assistant principal because if you think about the other high schools in Salem-Keizer, they have like 4 or 5 assistant principals, and I have one. And so oftentimes at a school, there's one that's just for behavior and discipline. And Mr. Weber does a great job of that in our building. That's not a full-time job in our building because our kids absolutely love the work they get to do. And they make mistakes sometimes. But again, we treat them like employees. So they don't feel like they got sent to the principal's office. They feel like they got sent to HR sometimes. But that is a role that's often a full-time job, and he does that for us in our building. While we have 10 programs and I'm ultimately responsible for all of them, we do share 5 and 5, the direct supervision load of the programs. So we have to observe and evaluate each and every one of our teachers, and he does half of the building and I do the other half. Oftentimes in a school, there's a curriculum assistant principal. That's one job, and they work with things like dual credit. We offer college credits in each and every one of our programs. For some students, that industry job and that certification is their competitive advantage. Others are choosing a career within that sector that does pass through the university, and that's their competitive advantage that we give them. So he works with, curricular decisions, college credits, things like that. And then he's just so adaptable and he's good at so many things. Sometimes I feel like he's our tech guy. just because he's a lot better at that than I am. He is absolutely like a Swiss Army knife. He's just a jack of all trades. And one of the things I love about him, I think we have this in common, no job is beneath us. If we need to sweep the floors, we sweep the floors. If we need to carry giant tables around, we do that. And so I feel blessed. I think he and I are a really good team. I also really appreciate the fact that we can really disagree with and push on each other sometimes. But then once we make that decision, we're on the same team and we can, move forward, just really unified and united. So he's just indispensable. I couldn't imagine. My first year there, we didn't have all of our programs open. We didn't have as large of a student population. We didn't have 1,000 kids like we have now. And so the FTE allocated, I was there without him. I was there with no assistant principal. And so no one appreciates their assistant principal more than I do, because I know what it's like to be there without him, and it's not the same.
Well, as somebody who relies on a very strong team structure, I know how fortunate we are to have great leaders acting in leadership within our umbrellas. As you think about things that you're most excited about, what are a couple that really go, Tom, pick me. I want to tell you about this or that.
Oh gosh, pick a couple. I always joke that I feel bad for my friends and family because I talk about the work we do all the time because I'm always so excited about it. Just one more thing, and then I'll stop talking about CTEC. But when we were approved to purchase this hangar at the airport, it meant that our drone technology and robotics program was moving out of a giant space right there next to our CTEC Commons at the center of our building. And having that empty and open space, it was a blank slate, which is so exciting to me. So if we revisit that Venn diagram I was talking about, I thought I want to do something incredible with this space. I want to make the biggest impact on our community and the biggest impact on young people that we can make with the 6,000 square feet that I have right here. So if you think about industry need, student interest, and a 2-year competitive advantage, when I look around at Salem, and I already talked about how much I love our community and how humbled I am by our amazing business and industry partners, but we have a mental health crisis in our community. And I thought that's what we have to do. That's what we have to do. I've had the chance to travel across the nation and see CTE programs in high schools across the nation. And many high schools have a health services program, not one mental and behavioral health CTE program in K-12 public education. And I thought, for whatever reason, there's not a path paved for that. I think people have fears. People think, well, that's too heavy. Those topics are too big. Kids are too young to learn about that. Absolutely incorrect. Absolutely false. I'd love for you to talk to my kids about what they're learning and how they feel about it and how prepared they are to dive into that work. But we started the absolute first of its kind. And I know that we're going to pave that path and other people are going to follow it. We have had so much traffic already coming through. We've had a couple of the news channels, KATU and KGW, come down and check it out. We've had OPB and the Salem Reporter and different groups come in and check it out. But the work that this new incredible team that I was lucky enough to land in my teaching positions, the work they've already done would blow you away. We need this. We need this in our community. And I know other communities need this too. I am so proud of the fact that we had the courage to go first. I'm so thankful that our leaders let us do this. That airport facility, it was December 13th that the school board said yes and approved that hangar purchase. So grateful to them for that leap of faith as well. But that didn't give us a lot of turnaround time. And people thought, you can't start this program next year. And I thought, we have to. We have to. I wish we would have started it 9 years ago when CTEC opened. But we did. We turned it around quickly. We didn't have every single thing in place, and it's still the best education those kids have ever received anywhere. Sometimes you just have to do a thing. You have to have the courage to do a thing. And then you have to pave a path so that people who want to make a difference but don't quite have the courage to go first have someone to follow. And I'm just so excited about it. I'm so proud of the work You should talk to the students in that program and meet that teaching team. They are incredible.
Well, we look forward to it. Yeah, your passion and excitement are very infectious, and we love having you front and center for that very reason and many things. How does a leader like you, Rhonda, who runs, you run all in, and I love that. How do you recharge as a professional and as somebody pretty accomplished with probably a pretty full schedule in your own right with family and the like? How do you hit a recharge?
I'm really lucky that my husband is the greatest guy. So I'm obviously very passionate. Sometimes I feel like I terrify people because there's just a lot of energy and a lot of passion coming your way especially if you ask me the right questions. And then my husband is the most chill. He's just the nicest guy. So chill and just so go with the flow. And I'm just really lucky to have a great relationship and just a great calm environment when I get home. And so that's been great. I am definitely I'm very physical. So I'm definitely a fitness person. So definitely, just exercise and, sauna. I have a sauna at my house. I do that every single day. So that's one thing that, I think really helps me have the energy I need for the work that I do. And then I have great friends and family, and I love travel. So I get really excited about travel and especially adventure travel. So whether it's a more local kind of within the state of Oregon, hiking or backpacking or something like that, or just international adventure travel, I think those are kind of my big ones.
You don't want to find yourself on the mats challenging Rhonda to a throwing contest. Talk to me about mixed martial arts and your interest there, because I've gotten to see you and your husband perform is not the right word, but show a display of your skill set there and how you enjoy being involved in that physical sport.
I was 19 when I started doing martial arts, and I studied traditional Japanese martial arts. I always joke that I majored in jujitsu and minored in Aikido in college because I spent a lot of time at the dojo in addition to being in class. And so I think because I've always been very physical, that was so good for me. And as a child, definitely, in Dundee, Oregon, and Newberg, Oregon, nobody ever talked about ADHD, but if they did, they would have put my picture alongside that description. So it gave me all of the instructors I had really poured into me and taught me to focus my energy. If you think about this amount of energy, and it's either going the wrong direction or not focused, that's a lot. So my martial arts instructors, my boxing coaches poured into me and really helped me to channel my energy and learn self-discipline. And I think I don't think I would have found success in any area of my life if they hadn't taught me that starting in my late teens. I've had the chance to work out in a lot of different places. I had a chance to do a lot of great martial arts in Boston. I worked at a Boston boxing gym. It's like being on a movie set. Just the coolest environment. But I've had the opportunity to do a lot of teaching. Had the opportunity to open Zanshin on Broadway and market along with two other gentlemen in 2010. As a nonprofit, because our goal was to provide a high quality facility and high quality martial arts training to people regardless of income. Going through the martial arts training, I didn't have any money in my younger years, and I did work steady. I'd work off my dues. I would do work around the place in order to pay my martial arts tuition. And we wanted to make sure that everybody who wanted to train had the ability to do that. And so we opened as a nonprofit. So we have paying members, we have scholarship members, things like that. So that has been a blessing. That's also where I met my husband. So huge blessing in my life. And then had the chance for a while to be a MMA judge for the Oregon State Athletic Commission in the state of Oregon. So had a blast for many years judging different events from just local MMA matches to, bigger stages like Bellator and things like that. So
Dave Hagen, one of the best.
Yes. Yep. Dave definitely has coached me and taught me some things and kicked my butt a few times. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Well, you bring a great discipline and focus from the sport, and your energy, as I had mentioned, is just uncomparable. Our community is incredibly fortunate to have your leadership at the helm of CTEC. And if individuals are listening and you'd like to bring your business talents, your acumen, your perspective in front of the students and share some of your wisdom, we have a very easy way for you to do that. And that's simply reaching out to the Salem Chamber. As Rhonda has mentioned, we have 3 incredibly skilled leaders in their own right who provide a conduit between CTEC and the private sector. And those individuals can connect people with CTEC and the various programs there and help make the doors a little more wide open for students who exit the program. And as you say it best, and I was trying to draw and remember the phrase, but I'll never forget it again, the true 2-year competitive advantage that is seen at CTEC. This has been a conversation with Rhonda Rhodes, principal at CTEC, right on Portland Road. Rhonda, quickest way for somebody to reach out to you and your team to follow along with CTEC, what's the easiest way to do that?
Well, they should absolutely follow us on social media because we do incredible work every single day and it's up. But they can just hop on our website, and if you just look up CTEC Salem, give us a call. Absolutely contact the chamber. Our 3 business liaisons, our work would not be what it is if we didn't have them on the team. So they would love to give a tour, but you can get to us through any of those channels. We just want our community involved with our students. So any of those channels works, but definitely our business liaisons can coordinate great student ambassador-led tours of CTEC, and anyone who hasn't had one, that's the place I would start.
It is a great starting point, and once you're in the building, do not be surprised if you are very curious for how you can be involved the next thing. And let's put a name to those people. That our business liaisons are Sarah Rambeck, Judy Fisher, and Laura Bronson, and they are led by Katie Kostick within our organization that provides some of the managerial skills in partnership with Rhonda and her team over at CTEC. Rhonda, really appreciate you sharing your perspectives and your time, and thank you for doing very important work in our community.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. This has been an episode of the Salem Chamber Podcast. Rhonda Rhodes, Principal, CTEC. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Salem Chamber Podcast. The Salem Chamber is a 501c6 not-for-profit organization representing nearly 1,100 businesses in the greater Salem area. For additional information, please visit salemchamber.org. This has been a production of Dan Johnson and Lena Prine on the Salem Chamber's professional staff team.